owns your house.
And Naomi's right behind you.
And Naomi Davis. Good morning, my sister. And she is the proud owner of the Material House that you're going to be hearing a lot about. And so that's our introduction, and we will get started.
I'll start giving Naomi time to breathe.
Right.
Okay. So welcome. We are the Coalition of Black House Museums. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for giving us press. You all know that as Muslims, we greet everyone. We say, peace be unto you, or assalamu alaikum. So I'd like to extend that peace over to you all today. Thank you, Dr. Hughes, and the staff at the A. Philip Randolph Pullman Porter Museum, the National A. Philip Randolph Pullman Porter Museum, which is where we are today. Thank you for your generous hospitality and camaraderie. Thank you to all of you all who have come here and show us that preservation matters, we matter as preservationists, urban historic preservationists. So thank you to my sisters, fellow coalition members. You'll be hearing from them today. I'm Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. I'm the owner of the Elijah Muhammad House, also known as Sajdah House. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the eternal leader of the Nation of Islam. He built a nation from what is today known as the Elijah Muhammad House, or Sajdah House at 4847 South Woodlawn Avenue. You might be asking, why does the house have two names? Well, Sajdah in Arabic means prayer or adoration. And I named the house initially in honor of the many prayers and connection to God that have led me to my own personal success. And at first, I really was not sure if we could renovate a 120-year-old mansion that has sat vacant for decades so that it would represent and be able to wear his name. And once we were certain of that, we decided then, okay, it can be the Elijah Muhammad House. So we call it Sajdah House. You can also call it officially the Elijah Muhammad House. Just a really quick, and what we're going to do today, we're going to all introduce ourselves. We're going to talk to you about the ancestors that we pay homage to with our house museums. So I want to say a couple words to you today about Elijah Muhammad, many of them that you may not know. For those of you who don't know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is indeed a true friend, not only of America, but especially of Black men and women. His influence is felt around the world today and is embedded in the pride that we all speak of here today. So he is one of the architects of the Black pride that fuels us for setting up these museums in the first place. He worked, suffered, studied, and constantly prayed for our rise. He sacrificed his own personal life to devote 44 years to the rise of our people. He single-handedly, with tenaciousness of will and singleness of purpose, turned the language of America from the use of the word Negro, which means something dead, lifeless, or hard, into seeing ourselves as Black people, members of the Aboriginal nation of the earth. He turned our hearts toward Africa and our brothers and sisters in the isles of the Pacific, Central, and South America, and the Caribbean. His wisdom showed us the connection between the Native Americans and their membership in the Aboriginal nation of the earth. He, more than any other religious leader, is responsible for causing us to refer to one another as brothers and sisters. He caused new levels of scholarship in the research of history of the Black man and into the nature and birth record of mankind. He inspired research into melanin and its presence or absence and its effect on our thought processes. He taught us how to eat to live, causing us to throw away medicines and become health conscious. His teachings on this subject began the process of the proud beautification of our people. He started the process of reformation of the Black woman, without which there would be no new people. He showed us the value of a proper education and was a pioneer in the establishment of an independent school system that reflected the same. He demonstrated the proper use of money by establishing for his followers farmland, banks, businesses, airplanes and airport facilities, international trade and commerce. You name it, he did it because of his love for us. He saw and cultivated our greatness. His divine influence can be seen around the world. Today, many in the world capitalize off of our culture. Let's face it, Black people are so dope. We're so creative. creative and so ingenious. Our pain and suffering has produced inventions and the culture that the world follows and that the world mimics today. Our culture has become the world's culture. Let me give you one quick example. Hip hop, for example, our urban street sounds that were rejected and despised at first has now become a multi-billion-dollar industry. Back in 2016, the hip hop market grew to $16 billion and controls over 30% of the music market, and its influence is only going up. Rock and roll has its roots in the blues. You'll hear a little bit about that today from my sister Sajdah, and she's going to talk about her great-grandfather, Muddy Waters. Has its roots in the blues and jazz genres invented by our Black cultural icons. But many of the neighborhoods where our history was made and everyday houses in urban areas around the country have now become a vortex of violence. We want you to help us with pride and instill pride in our culture to transition out of that vortex of violence. We want to spark a Black cultural renaissance, starting right here in Chicago, in our communities around the world. We want to spark a renewed self-interest and preservation of our culture. We want to cultivate radical changes in the ideas about our culture. We want to lead a cultural renaissance in our community. Urban historic preservation is a critical aspect of activating cultural economic development in our communities. We must begin to tell our own stories. That's what this is all about. We must begin to control the narrative, and we must begin to monetize our own culture. These sacred spaces deserve our honor and attention. They deserve to be preserved. To support the renovation and restoration of the former home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you can visit us at sajdahhouse.com. Follow us on Instagram at Sajdah House. And if you're anywhere in the country and you need our help to preserve and acquire these sacred spaces, we are here for you. Let's make sure that our neighborhoods become renaissance, cultural renaissance, instead of the vortex of violence. So I'm going to bring on my sister, who I'm going on name, Naomi? Chandra. Okay, this is Chandra.